Hey guys, it's Senile, and I am finally fucking back. Well, sort of. I'm not really back because I can't make any new footage at the moment because of the state of my TV. But, yeah. I'm back at least temporarily to basically spew my guts about AC3's multiplayer because, obviously, being an AC fan of all forms, I have obviously been sort of keeping track of this sort of thing, and there's been the announcement of some major changes to, mainly mechanical changes, and I've decided to sort of give some of them a little rundown and dissect them a little. And bear in mind, this is everything I say is just completely my random opinion, and you have every right to either not give a shit or completely disagree. So I'll get that, I'll point that out before I start. Well, the major mechanical changes that we have been enlightened to so far is pretty much the merging of the kill and stun button, i.e. they have basically made killing and stunning both assigned to the X button as opposed to the stun button being B or circle for the PS3 and square for the PS3 for killing. They basically made that the same, and pretty much the objective of that is to make it so your pursuer isn't revealed purely by the appearance of a B button above their head. And that makes perfect sense, really. Like, say, for example, if you're in a blend group and you're walking towards somebody, your target who is walking towards your blend group, and he walks towards it, and you go to poison, and he sees the B button, he's like, oh my god! And he stuns you. And you think, well, in what way was that fair? Because he clearly didn't know I was in that blend group. I was completely stealthy-like, and he gets a dirty, cheap-ass stun. So, that kind of makes sense. So, I'm quite happy with it, but initially I was sort of apprehensive, because I thought, well, if you assign the buttons, both buttons the same, surely that could make you run into some strange problems. Like, for instance, if we can still stun NPCs in this game, surely if you have a pursuer and a target at the same time and you attempt to stun an NPC who you think is obviously your actual pursuer, you're going to kill him and then lose your contract, and that would be a pretty unfair punishment for trying to stun somebody who you think is a pursuer. But what they've done about this is they've basically made it so if you kill an NPC, you don't actually lose your contract. Rather than that, you instead just have a cooldown on killing or stunning. So obviously, if I see I see someone who I think is my pursuer and I run up, instead I'll kill him, but I wouldn't have lost my contract on my real target. Instead, I just won't be able to kill or stun for a certain amount of time. Before I found out that, I was pretty confused as to how this mechanic was going to work. But it makes more sense after I kind of discovered that. But I still do think with this merging of the kill and stun prompt that there can be some dodgy, awkward situations that can arise from it. Say, for example, if you're going after your target as you do, and then your pursuer kind of runs up to you at the same time, and you end up having to, say if you manage to smoke bomb both of them, for example, and you're going to want to preferably stun your pursuer first so you don't get killed immediately after you make your kill. But because they're both assigned to the same button, that would mean presumably you're going to have to frantically lock these people, lock your pursuer first in order to get that stun, and then immediately go on to your target to kill them. And fair enough, that seems simple enough, but I'm sure that other people who have played this game know what this lock system can occasionally be like. I'm not offering any solutions because I have no idea how you can make the lock system fucking awesome, to be honest. But there are times when you're trying to lock someone, especially at close range, and if there's a lot of other people around, you could lock fucking anybody. You could lock somebody's nan, somebody's cat, a pigeon, anything. Absolutely anything you could lock. And if that happens, say your target and pursuer and a bunch of NPCs are all in a close proximity and you're trying to stun and kill at the same time, that could lead to some crazy, awkward situations where you could end up just, anything could happen. There's a high chance whatever you're trying to do won't happen. So that's one thing I'm a little bit apprehensive about. But obviously that's the thing we're all going to have to essentially see how that plays out when we actually get the game. Because a lot of the times, when you come up with theories like this, it usually doesn't sort of appear as scary as you think to begin with. That's happened with me a lot of theories I've had from previous games. But anyway, it's definitely something that is worrying me, because if the B button was obviously there, then in that situation, if you've got a crowd of people and you know which one's your pursuer, but they're amongst a crowd of people, you know for a fact that pressing B is definitely going to stun that person, because everybody else you're getting kill prompts for, because they're obviously not your pursuer. But on the whole, I can definitely see why they've made this decision, because there are some points where you're being told who your pursuer is purely by the B button, which requires no skill at all and is pretty unfair on your target. So yeah, I'm going to move on from that now. Another thing is there's going to now be a third ability slot. First of all, I thought this was kind of ridiculous, because I thought, well, I think there's already quite a reliance on abilities anyway, to be fair, and I thought that would kind of make it a little bit over the top and make the game almost entirely based on what abilities you're using, and rather than anything else really. But after I did a bit more like sort of research into it, I found out that this third ability slot is going to be dedicated purely to ranged abilities, and those will obviously consist of like the hidden gun, throwing knives, the new poison dart, which I know not a lot about right now, apart from I think it's just you basically fire it at someone from a fairly short range and get about 250 points or so for it. And another ranged ability that I think is disruption, which supposedly blurs your opponent's screen. But yeah, I can see what they're doing here as well, because essentially they want you to be able to deal with people who are obviously running and roofing and, you know, those kind of things that we tend to find a little bit annoying. They're basically trying to give us a tool to be able to deal with that at all times, rather than having to obviously use up one of our regular ability slots just to deal with something like that. So that's fair enough, I suppose. And another thing, I suppose it could make ability sets, I guess, more... There'd be I can't speak English. There'd be more variety in ability sets, because obviously if there's more of them, then there's going to be more different combinations, so that might make gameplay more interesting as you find more combinations of ability sets to use. So, like I said, initially I was not fond of this idea, but given that they're dedicating it purely to ranged abilities, I don't think it's going to be a problem, because I was thinking at first, like, imagine if I was in deathmatch with Disguise, Smoke Bomb, and Mute. That would kind of be ridiculous. So, that would kind of almost make you invincible, barring, like, some sort of, well, incredibly good play by your opponents, pretty much, or just you playing terribly with your abilities. But yeah, oh Jesus, I didn't notice how much time I'm blatantly running out of. I have kind of more to speak about. Maybe I'll put on another deathmatch after this and just continue to talk shit. If you don't mind. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to do it anyway, because I have no idea whether you do or don't mind. But, yeah, I had a couple of other things I was going to... Blatantly just swallowed my entire body there. Sorry. Another thing I was going to talk about is the ambush bonus, which is obviously a small change that won't have a massive effect, but is a decent change nonetheless. Because basically, I don't know exactly how this will work, like, mechanically, but basically the idea of this, according to the developers, is to reward you for basically anticipating where your opponent is going to go without being in line of sight. Because that was a criticism of the changes made to Revelations, like the detection meter, basically. Because you have to build up the detection meter while in line of sight, that meant that if you're, like, say, heading somebody off, like, you can see where somebody's going, but you're completely out of line of sight, so you head them off and you go where, like, you take the route that they're going to go, or you anticipate the route they're going to go, and you meet them, and then you kill them, you're gonna get a discrete kill max, because you haven't been able to build up your line of sight. And obviously people, including myself, thought that was a bit unfair, because it takes just as much skill to to be able to anticipate and predict your opponent's moves as it does to remain stealthy while in line of sight. So the ambush bonus is supposed to basically rectify that kind of problem. Obviously, like I said, I'm not sure how, because I don't know like how exactly it works. But yeah, well, I had a couple of other things, not too many, but just a couple. Excuse me, I haven't written down here, so I'm just kind of looking through them and stuff. Where's my other one? Oh yeah, another improvement that has been announced is that there's going to be improved matchmaking, which, well, we would be begging for, because the matchmaking hasn't been famed in Assassin's Creed games for being brilliant in either Brotherhood or Revelations. And particularly, there's one aspect of the matchmaking that I definitely want to be improved, and I don't know if this has been announced at all. Like, correct me if I have been completely ignorant to this, but the main problem I had, particularly with team games, is the fact that team games, well, any game, will start as soon as 4 people have entered the lobby. So if you say build up a team, like you've got your own party of 4 people, you instead of being a team, you then have to split up into a 2-on-2 match and play against the friends that you obviously want to play with. And then you have to wait for people to eventually join games, and then hope that there'll be enough players for you to actually play with each other next time. And I thought that was ridiculous, because it virtually meant that I could never play with like the actual full team I wanted to play with, and it pretty much created a scenario where I would never play a team game like with multiple people. I play it with one teammate, like one person I know, and just join with them and play with 2 randoms, because it was just stupid having to wait for so long to actually play with the team I wanted to play with. That was probably the most frustrating thing about the matchmaking system, to be honest. But yeah, I'm glad they've at least said that they're going to look into that, because I found it a major problem, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to touch on was to do with abilities, and that is that Smoke Bomb, the cooldown for Smoke Bomb has been increased to, well, according to some of the videos I've been watching, like at the like at E3 and Comic-Con and the like, it's been increased to 80 seconds. And that, in my opinion, is a great change, because Smoke Bomb is pretty awesome in every way, to be honest. And the thing that made that awesomeness so confusing is that, despite the fact that it was pretty much the most effective ability in the game by miles, it also had a really short cooldown, where you contrast that with something like Mute, which is good, because pretty much if you use it right, you're getting free stuns out of it, or free kills even, but it had a suitably long cooldown time. But Smoke Bomb didn't. It had this, like, one of the lowest of the cooldown times for a really, really good ability. And you can pretty much do anything with a Smoke Bomb, offensively or defensively. You can shine your shoes with it, make toast with it, wash your car with it, everything you can do with a Smoke Bomb, pretty much. Which is why it was so insanely popular. So I'm glad they've changed the cooldown. So I was thinking they would either sort of nerf Smoke Bomb, i.e. make it not as effective in whatever way, like they could like make it not do things it did before, or make it smaller by default, make it not last anywhere near as long or something like that. But I'm glad they've done something with it, because that at least for one shows that they're listening to us, because most of us have been saying Smoke Bomb is so goddamn overpowered, and obviously we just keep using it because of that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I was going to talk about. There's plenty of other like discussion-worthy points, but obviously if I was to cover every single one, you would probably, well, if you're a subscriber, you would unsubscribe, and if you wasn't a subscriber, you would come to my house and you'd murder me, and you would shove tissue down my throat until I die. And, well, I want to live long enough till this game comes out, so I'm pretty much going to leave you now, and I'll leave the rest of this game on, and you can do what the hell you will with that, but it's not the most massively interesting game in the world, so you're welcome to pretty much just clock off for lunch. But yeah, cheers for taking the time to listen to me waffle to Kingdom Come, and I will see you the next time I decide to make a video. I don't know when that will be. It depends how fond you are of recycled footage, because I have no new footage at the moment with my whole TV situation. But thanks for listening anyway, and goodbye.
Kill. Ground finish. Revenge. 1 minute remaining. You have been returned. Contract lost. Done.
It's on to you. It's okay.